Alright, boom, here we are. My name is Andrew Kuhn. I am sitting in the park. There's a park near where Geoff and I work, and I'm sitting in here, and I actually was writing a blog post for Focus Compounding, and I figured why not actually get the camera out, and sometimes it's easier for me just to talk to a camera and kind of get my thoughts on video. And I thought maybe I could share some things that I'm thinking about with all of you guys that have been following along with the Twitter, or the podcast, or the website. Obviously, I did say that it is my goal to upload 52 blog posts this year on Focus Compounding, so that in itself for me is going to be a challenge because I don't particularly enjoy writing. It's a lot easier for me and more natural just to hop up on the podcast or pull a camera out and start talking to it. I'm sitting in a park. We're in Plano, Texas, where Geoff and I work. And our office is over here, and there's a park that's over here that I like to come and kind of walk around and hang out in and think and get a break from the computer. And it's about probably 60 degrees right now. It is MLK Day. I think we're the only people working on Martin Luther King Day, but we are happy to be getting after it. And this blog post that I was thinking about uploading, it's really going to be based around this concept of focus, and how in 2020 I truly think your greatest advantage as an investor, entrepreneur, and really just a person in general, someone that's like trying to get after it, is your ability to focus and stay focused in this world that's full of distraction. And it's kind of like the whole saying goes, focus is the new IQ. We constantly have so many distractions, we have so many notifications, so many different emails coming through. And I think a good way to sort of inoculate yourself or give yourself such an edge, if you will, is to really just understand, that it is sort of a sad fact that supposedly we have less of an attention span than a goldfish. Apparently, I was doing some research on that. I don't know exactly how they quantify that scientifically. That humans, our attention span supposedly has gone from 12 seconds down to 8 seconds, which apparently is less than a goldfish. So I thought that was quite interesting. But I think that this idea of being able to focus and being able to stay the course and stay disciplined and stay persistent in this world full of constant distractions and constant stimulus, I think that is something that is quite important. And I really do think it's something, it's almost like a muscle that you could work to build and kind of improve on every single day. And especially when it comes to being an investor, I wrote about in my last week blog post that Geoff and I, we did a research trip. We went and visited 3 different companies, and it's interesting when you do scuttlebutt and you visit these companies in person. It really takes the stock out of the business, which I think is actually quite important for investors if you're thinking with more so like a longer term mindset. Geoff and I, we have our own checklist, and a lot of the ideas that we're looking at investing in, we truly want to decide if this is something that we feel fairly confident that we can own for another 10 years or the next 10 years. And I think the only way to be able to actually do that and feel pretty comfortable doing that is going on these research trips, meeting the management, seeing the actual tangible business in person. And it's good to do that because you realize that these are real businesses. These are real people. They have real employees. They're probably, pretty important in their real communities. And I think what's good is it adds perspective, and everybody says, stocks are not just pieces of paper, and everybody acts like they know that. And then you read some of their research on the internet, and they're really talking about like the next quarter or the next year, as opposed to it being an actual good business that they would like to own for the next 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. So I've always thought, doing scuttlebutt and stuff like that is definitely worth it. And Geoff and I were actually planning to go on another trip, and we really want to do one trip every month and plan just accordingly, strategically, all these different companies that we could go visit and go meet them in person. But getting back to this topic of focus, I think it's understanding that markets move faster than real businesses do, and when you go and do scuttlebutt, you certainly realize that and see it sort of firsthand. So I think it is good for investors to do that. If you focus on the true fundamentals of business and like the big picture, it being what are you paying today for an asset, and what is that price relative to what it could do in the future. I think that it's all good stuff to do. But getting back to the focus stuff, I think really just understanding that sort of a sad epidemic is you know, a good way to sort of protect yourself from it. I think if you have goals, one of the things that Geoff and I do every single day when we meet to work is we sit with each other in person, and we don't have our cell phones, we don't have any piece of technology, we literally have a yellow pad paper, if anyone knows what those are, and we say, what are our goals for the day, right? And we will list like 2 to 3 goals. It's almost like a company giving some sort of guidance for the next quarter. We almost give guidance for the next day, and we break it down to 3 because we want the most important goals you know, that we want to accomplish to make the day worth it, essentially. And in my first blog post, I wrote about Buffett, how supposedly he gave a advice to his pilot for goal setting, and a lot of people told me that that actually wasn't true, but I still think it's a good story to tell because there's a lot of, I guess, a good life lesson in there. But he said, you know, list 20 goals, circle the 5 most important goals, disregard all the 15 other goals, and then focus on those 5 goals. And I think that's important because, you know, you don't want to be too, you know, spread out. You really want to be laser focused on the most important task at hand. So what Geoff and I do is we meet up first thing in the morning, and we'll pick 2 to 3 most important things that we're going to do for the day. And then the next day we'll review and see, did we hit that guidance? You know, did other stuff come up that distracted us from hitting that? And then if there's too many consecutive days in a row where we're not hitting our own guidance, you know, we want to think about, okay, what's going on here? Are we not focusing on the right things? You know, what can we do to constantly improve? So I truly think being an investor in 2020, when you have so much information out there, so many different traders trading different things, so much you know, constant stimulus, I think it truly is your ability to really filter out the noise and just focus on the big picture, what's most important. So that's just some of my thoughts on focus in 2020, and I truly think that as an investor, your greatest you know, competitive advantage is your ability to focus, cut out the noise, understand that stocks are not just pieces of paper that flash around on a screen all day. They're fractional ownerships of real businesses with real assets, you know, and really sticking to that. And then doing scuttlebutt, because that really puts it all in perspective. If you owned a company yourself, you probably would not be quoting it daily. And it's the same thing with real estate. I mean, you know, people don't go and quote the value of their house or the value of their apartment building daily because it would drive people crazy. So I think it's good to, you know, keep the big picture in mind, focus on good businesses, pay a price that you think is cheap relative to, you know, its value and what it could be worth in 5 to 10 to 15 years, and then, you know, just keep the big picture in mind. So my name is Andrew Kuhn. If this is the first time that you're checking in with me, be sure to check out all of our work at Focus Compounding. My partner Geoff Gannon and myself, we have an investing podcast, 160 different podcasts on everything investing related. A lot of people like that they're short topics, that they're short videos. There's a bunch of different topics you can you know, sort through. We also write about ideas at focuscompounding.com, and then we also manage capital for investors at Focus Compounding Capital Management. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, follow along all of our work, follow me on Twitter at Focus Compound, and I will see you in the next video.